Hey guys. This is part 4 of What If Naruto Was in Rosario Vampire. Hit like and subscribe if you like this one, and also please check the author in the description. Let's start.
We are pain, that's all. We are God.
Chapter 12, Student-Teacher Study Session. Hey Kurama, there's something I wanted to ask about. Naruto said, laying down, gasping for air. Today's training session was pretty tiring. What? Kurama asked, looking down at his container. When I was fighting Kuya, he made a fire version of my Rasengan. Is it possible to add an element to it? Naruto asked as he recalled the battle with the four-tailed Yuko. Kurama was silent as he thought about it before looking at the blonde. An interesting thought. Chances are it will be more difficult than it sounds, but the end results could be pretty impressive. The fox mused. Yeah, you know what? I'm going to do it. I'll make an elemental Rasengan, Naruto declared. You have 3 choices. Wind, fire, and Kitsunbai. What will it be? Kurama asked curiously. Naruto thought for a bit before answering. I don't have enough control to combine the Rasengan and Kitsunbai together, so that's out for now. Plus, with my Kitsunbai techniques and fire jutsu, I have enough fire-based attacks. Guess I'll work on a wind Rasengan, he decided. Alright then, now that you've decided, let's begin, Kurama said with a grin. The tiredness in Naruto suddenly vanished, the prospect of learning a new move renewing him with vigor. Yokai Academy. If you take alpha times beta from this solution, the coefficient of x squared is based on equation A. The math teacher, Kagome Ririko, explained to her class as she wrote on the board. I can't understand any of this, Tsukune thought as he took some notes. So who wants to solve this problem? Ririko asked with a smile as she scanned the room. How about you, Tsukune-kun? What? The human asked, panicked. Why did she have to ask him? Trying to say something, he dropped his head in defeat. Sorry, sensei. I have no idea how. My, it seems like someone has to pay more attention. If you want to daydream, then do so after class, Ririko chastised. Hi, sensei, Tsukune said. Good. After all, the semester test is coming up, so we need everyone to do their best, she said with a smile, causing the male students to blush. Tsukune, though, was having a heart attack. Oh no! I completely forgot. How on earth am I going to pass? Tsukune shouted in his head as he cried anime tears. His thoughts were interrupted when the classroom door opened. Sorry I'm late, sensei, Naruto said as he walked casually to his seat, ignoring the lust-filled stares from the girls or the jealous glares from the guys. I hope you have a good excuse for being late, Naruto-kun, Ririko said as she crossed her arms. I do. I was on my way to class when I saw some birds entering a new birdhouse. So being the kind person I am, I decided to help the birds move their things into their new home, Naruto said with a grin, causing the class to sweat drop. I see. Well then, if you would please take your seat, I can continue with my lesson, Ririko sighed. Nodding his head, the blonde took his seat as he listened to the math teacher's lesson, but the material soon went over his head. Eventually, he just stopped paying attention and began thinking of ways to create his new jutsu. Omote-san, you have to help me, Tsukune cried once their class was finished. You need my help? What for? Omote asked with a puzzled expression. After all the dangerous things we've been through, I just haven't had the time to study. I can't understand a single bit of this, a frantic Tsukune said as he waved his math notebook around. Whenever I look at my notes, it's like I'm trying to read another language. Please, Omote-san, I'm begging you. Help me, the human continued. Seeing the state of her friend, the pink-haired vampire didn't have the heart to refuse. All right, Tsukune, I'll help you, Omote said with a smile. Really? Thank you so much, Tsukune said with such gratitude it caused her to blush. Well, if you want, you can come to my room tonight and we can study, she suggested shyly. Alone, with Omote-san, in her room? Tsukune thought to himself with a blush on his face as a romantic scene between the two of them played inside his mind. So you two are going to study? Would you mind if I joined you? Another voice asked, although it sounded more like a demand. They turned to see Naruto and Yura standing there, Naruto with a carefree grin and Yura giving Tsukune a hard look. After all, when it comes to studying, more people can be more useful, Yura added. If Tsukune thought she would let those two stay alone in Omote's room, then he had another thing coming. Oh, of course not, Yura-san, Tsukune said nervously as the scene between him and Omote vanished. Why is everyone so worked up? It's just a test, Naruto asked from his spot. It's the semester test. If you fail, then you'll have to go to summer school, Yura answered. Naruto was silent as he took this in before falling to his knees and grabbing both of Yura's hands. Please, Yura-chan, you have to help me. If I have to go to summer school, I'll die, I just know it, Naruto pleaded as he realized what situation he was placed into. Math was his worst subject. He refused to go to summer school, but in order to pass he needed all the help he could get. Yura blushed slightly at the contact but smirked when she thought of an idea. I suppose I could help you, but let's make things a little interesting, she suggested. Naruto looked at her warily. On one hand he was glad she would help, but on the other who knew what she would say. What? He asked carefully. Let's make it a drinking game, she said with a faint grin. Hearing this caused the others to blink in confusion. They never would have thought Yura would suggest something like this. A drinking game? Naruto repeated. It sounded interesting, but where on earth would they get any alcohol at this school? Yes, for every mistake you make while we study I get to drink some of your blood, Yura said, causing Naruto to sweat drop. He should have known his blood would be involved in this somehow. That's a great idea, Yura-chan. What do you say, Tsukune? Omote asked excitingly. Tsukune took a nervous step back as he chuckled uncertainly. Did he have enough blood to meet the stipulation? All right, you win, Naruto said, much to Yura's pleasure. After all, if she was willing to help him, the least he could do was supply her with some blood. Hearing this, Omote turned to Tsukune with an expectant look. He was trying to find a way to gently let her down, but he couldn't handle her pleasing expression. A few seconds later he folded under the sheer cuteness. Okay, he said, although he was crying on the inside. He prayed he wouldn't be drained completely by the end of the night. Great, the twins said in unison. What have gotten myself into, the two boys thought. Their train of thought was interrupted when Omote addressed Tsukune. Don't worry, Tsukune, I'll do my best to help you, she said with a smile so bright Tsukune felt weak in the knees. Thank you, Omote-san, Tsukune stuttered. Naruto turned to Yura expectantly. Seeing this caused her to raise an eyebrow. What? She asked plainly. Aren't you going to say something like that to me? He asked as he pointed towards the other two. Yura spared them a glance before turning to Naruto with a blank expression. Don't worry, Naruto, I'll do my best to help you, Yura said, borrowing Omote's words. But unlike her sister, her words had no emotion whatsoever behind them. That's so reassuring, Naruto said with a sweat drop. What's going on here? A new voice asked. The group of 4 students turned to see their math teacher Ririko approaching them with a disappointed look on her face. Ririko-sensei, what are you doing here? Tsukune asked as the older woman reached them. Tsukune Ono and Naruto Uzumaki, I must say that I am disappointed with you too, she said sadly as she shook her head. Hearing this caused confused the two boys. What the hell did I do? Naruto asked, scratching the back of his head. Did he pull a prank on her or something? You shouldn't talk to a teacher like that, Naruto, Tsukune whispered to his friend. He had no idea what they did, but he didn't need Naruto's lack of respect to get them in more trouble. Don't you two understand the situation you're in? I've noticed that you have been having difficulty with my lessons, but instead of going over the material I find you goofing around with some girls, Ririko chastised before turning her attention to the vampire twins. As for you two, how can you just stand there and let them jeopardize their education? You should let them study instead of wasting their time like you're doing now, she scolded. Omote looked beyond shocked and hurt when she heard this. The thought of being the reason Tsukune was doing so bad in school felt like a punch to the gut. Yura, on the other hand, looked at her sensei before rolling her eyes. Forgive me for the disrespect, sensei, She started, although it was clear she didn't mean it. After all, she was an elite vampire. Who did this woman think she was talking to her like that? But I find it hard to believe that my sister and I are responsible for their poor performance in class. In case you have forgotten, Tsukune has been average grade-wise since the beginning of the year. So wouldn't it make sense that he had some difficulty either way? As for Naruto, well, just look at him, Yura said as she pointed to the blonde who stopped paying attention to the conversation a while ago. He was currently looking up towards the sky with a dazed look in his eyes, coming up with different ideas for new techniques and training exercises. She really thinks highly of her friends, doesn't she? Tsukune and Omote thought with a sweat drop. Anyway, it's not like that, sensei. We weren't goofing around. I was just asking Omote-san if she could help me with my studies. Tsukune tried to explain. Relax, Tsukune-kun, you don't have to defend your little girlfriend. I understand what's going on. But still, she wouldn't be able to study. You would end up giving in to your temptations, and that would only distract you. Ririko explained, causing Omote and Tsukune to blush, although Omote did look hurt when she said she would only hinder Tsukune. Yura, on the other hand, glared at Tsukune. He better not give in to any temptation if he wants to continue to live, she thought. If you really want help, then just come to sensei. I would be more than happy to give you some of my time to help you. The same goes for you too, Naruto-kun, Ririko said. Hearing his name being said, Naruto snapped out of his thoughts and looked at the group, causing him to blink in confusion. Omote looked depressed, Tsukune looked nervous, and for some reason Yura was glaring at Tsukune. When he looked at Ririko, though, he shivered. Although she hid it well, he was still able to see the lust in her eyes. Oh dear, Kami, that's the same look that those fangirls have, Naruto thought, terrified. So what do you say? Come to my class after school and I'll give you some special lessons. I guarantee you will enjoy them. She purred, causing the human to blush and the Hanyu to pale. She's scarier than the fangirls. Sorry, sensei, but I have to go. I'll see you later for the study help, Yuri-chan, Naruto said before he ran away. He knew how some of the other girls acted around him, and he didn't want to stick around and find out how an older woman would react. Very well, Yura said a little too late. Naruto was already gone. Seeing this caused Ririko to narrow her eyes. You may have escaped me this time, but I'll get you eventually, Naruto-kun, she thought before turning her attention to Tsukune. But for now, I'll focus on this one. End of school newspaper club room. What? You have to attend Ririko-sensei's after-school lesson? Kuruma asked the depressed Tsukune. I don't know how, but I got forced into it, he explained. Why is life so unfair? I wanted to study with Omote-san, he mentally cried. That's too bad, Kuruma commented. What do you mean? Tsukune asked. I have her for homeroom, and she can be a little weird at times. She's really passionate about teaching, but she can go a bit overboard, the succubus explained before she adopted an irritated expression. And she gets the attention of all the boys because she has big boobs. It really pisses me off. What's so great about her? Mine are bigger, she exclaimed, causing Tsukune to sweat drop. Kuruma-chan is jealous of sensei's boobs? Who knew she was such a little kid? Yukari giggled, causing a tick mark to grow on Kuruma's head before she smiled sweetly. What are you talking about, Yukari-chan? You're the kid here. I mean, look at that flat chest of yours, she said pleasantly. Well, it's better than having those useless behemoths like yours, the young witch growled in annoyance. What are you talking about, you silly little girl? Mine are prized for being not only big but soft too, Kuruma said with a smirk. No one cares about that. Mine are prized for their youthfulness and supple smallness, Yukari shot back. What the hell are you guys doing? Tsukune shouted with a nosebleed as he watched the two of them grope the other's chest. On the sidelines, Naruto and Yura could only watch this in disbelief. Is this really happening? Naruto asked incredulously. It really is, Yura said in exasperation. Honestly, why did she associate herself with these people? How in the world did they go from Tsukune's study lessons to a discussion about breasts? Naruto asked in disbelief. I do not know, nor do I wish to know, Yura answered. Whatever, you're still willing to help me, right? He asked. I suppose, but I am curious. Why do you not seek Sensei's help? She asked. While she did not like that woman's accusations, she was rather curious as to why Naruto wanted her help instead of an actual teacher's. 'Cause you're one of the smartest students in our year. Also, I didn't like the way Sensei was looking at me, he said as he suppressed a shiver. What do you mean? Yura asked with a raised brow. She was looking at me like I was a piece of meat. I swear ever since I beat Kuyu I've had to be extra careful. If I'm not careful, then one of these days one of those girls will rape me or something, Naruto said. Hearing this caused Yura to narrow her eyes. She had noticed that many of the girls have been fawning over Naruto. It was very similar to how the boys acted around her. The only difference was that she threatened her fan club to stay away from her, but Naruto was too nice to do that to his. Things were starting to get out of hand. It started out with them drooling and daydreaming of him, but some of the girls were starting to get bolder to the point where they jumped him out of nowhere. And she didn't like it. Yura had no idea why, but seeing Naruto surrounded by a bunch of girls who practically worshipped the ground that he walked on caused her blood to boil. Hey Yura-chan, you okay? Naruto asked, snapping his fingers in front of her. She blinked in confusion before she blushed lightly when she realized she had space out. Oh, sorry about that. She apologized. It's cool, I zone out all the time. But like I was saying, the main reason I asked you instead of Ririko-sensei is that I feel more comfortable around you than I do her. He finished with a grin. She didn't know why, but that innocent statement caused Yura to blush deeply. She quickly turned away before Naruto could see. I see, she said, wondering why she has been acting like this lately. She would have to talk to Omote about this. Hopefully her sister would understand what was wrong with her. Still can't believe Tsukune got suckered in by Sensei. Naruto snickered. He did feel bad for the human though. He could tell he was looking forward to studying with Omote, but now someone stood in his way. It's his own fault. He could have refused her offer, or run away like a frightened child. Yura said, smirking at the end as she gave him a pointed stare. I didn't run away, I just didn't want to be late for my next class, Naruto said with a blush. Of course, Yura said, but it was clear that she didn't believe him. Once the club ended, Tsukune was on his way to Ririko's office for his lessons. Omote decided to tag along in order to spend some time with her human friend before he had to go. Sorry about this, Omote-san. I asked for your help, but now we can't study together, a dejected Tsukune said as they walked up the stairs. Don't worry about it, Tsukune, Omote said with a fake smile as she was feeling conflicted. I want to help Tsukune, but what if Ririko-sensei is right? What if I only distract him? Omote thought to herself with a frown. Despite that, I'm still going to work hard. That way you and I can spend summer together, Tsukune said with a smile that caused Omote to blush. He wants to spend summer with me, Omote thought happily. Alright, make sure you work hard, Tsukune. That way we can have fun during the break, Omote said, feeling a little bit better. She turned and walked away with Tsukune watching her before turning to the door. Even though I said that, I still wish I could study with her, Tsukune said to himself before opening the door. Once he closed the door behind him, he looked around the room and blinked in confusion. The room was filled with lit scented candles. Ririko-sensei. It's Tsukune Ono. I'm here for the after-school lessons, Tsukune called out. Oh good, you're here? He heard the voice of his sensei say. He turned around, but his face turned crimson red as soon as he saw his sensei. Standing in front of him was the math teacher Ririko, but instead of her usual clothes she was currently wearing a tight leather outfit that consisted of a small skirt and a top that showed off much of her cleavage. Why are you wearing that? A flustered Tsukune shouted. Oh, this? I just thought this would help motivate you with your studies, she said innocently. Like hell, this is a motivation, Tsukune shouted. This is a bigger distraction than studying with Omote-san. This is a little weird. Maybe I should go, Tsukune said as he backed away towards the door. Don't go just yet. I am your sensei after all. I am your leader in education, which makes you my servant. So please stay put, and we can start our lessons, she said with a sweet smile that made Tsukune sweat. Ririko took a few steps closer towards him as he backed away until he hit his back against the wall. What are you doing, sensei? Tsukune asked in a panicked tone. Next day. Yukari-chan, will you please help me study? Kurama pleaded. No thanks, Yukari said with a pleasant smile. What? Why not? Kurama whined. I don't want to waste my time teaching a hopeless case, Yukari said dismissively. What was that? Kurama shouted as she glared at the young witch. It means you're too stupid, Yukari shouted back as she turned around to walk away. Not so fast, Kurama said as he pulled some rope out of nowhere and tied Yukari up. What are you doing, you cow? Yukari shouted as she struggled to get free. I'm getting worried about the semester test. You are going to help me whether you like it or not, Kurama said as she continued to drag Yukari away. She wasn't paying much attention, so she was surprised when she bumped into someone. Blinking in confusion, she looked at the person she bumped into only to smile when she saw who it was. Tsukune-kun, she said happily. Tsukune didn't answer her though. He was muttering something with a dazed look in his eyes. Tsukune-kun? What's wrong? Kurama asked, noticing his strange behavior. Again the human didn't answer. Instead he continued to mutter something with the same dazed expression. Why is he acting so weird? Kurama asked, a little worried. I'm not sure, Yukari said as she tried to hear what he was saying. Hey guys, what's going on here? Naruto said as he walked towards them with Omote and Yura following behind. Something's wrong with Tsukune, Kurama said as she pointed to the zombie trance-like human. Tsukune, are you okay? Omote asked as she approached him. She was answered with quiet mutterings. What nonsense is he saying? Yura asked. A plus B, 2 equals a 2 plus 2 a plus B2, Tsukune said loud enough for them to hear. What? Naruto asked in confusion as he scratched his head. A plus B, C plus D, equals AC plus AD plus BC plus BD, Tsukune said, still in a monotone trance. Why is he chanting math formulas? Yukari asked. X2 plus A plus B, X plus AB equals X plus A, X plus B. Was he always this smart? I thought he was supposed to be in the middle, Naruto said. To think you were this smart. I knew you were amazing, Tsukune-kun. Kurama squealed as she tried to hug the boy, but he just walked away, still muttering formulas. Wait, Tsukune. Where are you going? Omote said as she chased after him. She cut him off by standing in front of him, clutching a notebook to her chest. I know that sensei said she would be able to help you, but I still wanted to do something. I made a notebook of strategies to help you study. I worked really hard on this, so I hope it's useful, she said with a smile as her cheeks flushed. Tsukune only stared at her and the notebook as she held it out to him. The others watched confused. Usually if something like this happened, Tsukune would be a blushing mess as he happily accepted it. Omote seemed to have noticed this as she gave Tsukune a questioning look. What's wrong, Tsukune? Aren't you going to take it? She asked her friend. Before he could say anything, the notebook was snatched out of her hands. What do you think you are doing? Ririko asked as she glared at Omote. She flipped through the notebook and snorted before tossing it at the pink-haired vampire's feet. I thought I told you to leave the boy alone. Your meddling will only hurt him in the end. Come along, Tsukune-kun. Sensei will help you study, she said as she motioned for the boy to follow, leaving Omote, who looked on the verge of tears, alone. Before leaving, she spotted Naruto and smiled. Why don't you come with us, Naruto-kun? She asked as she drank his formin. Naruto kept his face passive, but he was beyond angry on the inside. She was supposed to be a teacher, and yet she treated Omote like she was nothing but a nuisance. It reminded him a little of his academy days with his teachers like Mizuki, who only saw him as a demon instead of a normal boy. Although technically they would be halfway correct if they called him a demon now, but that wasn't the point right now. That's alright, sensei. Yura-chan said that she would help me study, Naruto said, causing the older woman to frown. I thought we talked about this the other day. These girls won't be able to help you. Why not let sensei be of assistance? She asked, trying to convince him. It wasn't working. No thanks. I'm confident that Yura-chan will be able to help me, he said, causing Yura to look at Ririko with a smug expression. Ever since yesterday, Ririko has done nothing but get on Yura's bad side. Not only has she insulted her, but she also had the nerve to hurt Omote's feelings like she did earlier, and in front of her no less. Completely unacceptable. Are you really going to let him do this? Without my help he will most likely fail and will have to attend summer school, Ririko said as she looked at Yura with disdain, causing the vampire to scoff. My friend asked me for help and I have no problem with assisting him. Perhaps if you were a better teacher he wouldn't need help in the first place, Yura challenged with a smirk, causing Ririko to narrow her eyes. I am your sensei, you will show me respect, she said through gritted teeth. Why should she when you haven't done anything to earn respect? Naruto said, glaring at the teacher. He was really getting tired of her attitude. Naruto-kun, why would you say such a thing? Ririko asked, surprised. A sensei is supposed to help their students, yet you've been constantly degrading Yura and Omote, who by the way are at the top of the class, for agreeing to help us when we asked in the first place, Naruto said. Ririko was quiet for a bit as she tried to think of something to say, but sadly nothing came. I do not have to stand here and take this. Come along, Tsukune-kun, it's time for you lessons, Ririko said as she led Tsukune away. Are you alright, Omote? Yura asked once the teacher was gone. Omote nodded her head as she picked up the tossed notebook. Why would Tsukune just stand there and let her say such things? She asked with a frown. I'm not sure. Something must be up, Naruto said. There was no way Tsukune would just stand there and do nothing while someone hurt Omote, whether it be physically or emotionally. The boy cared more for her well-being than his own. Now that I think about it, some weird things have been happening lately, Yukari said, drawing attention to herself. What kind of things, Yukari-chan? Kuruma asked. There are some boys who have been taking Ririko-sensei's lessons. It's true that they become really smart at such a short period of time, but they act all weird now, Yukari explained. What kind of weird? Naruto asked. They act like they're her servant, or something, the young witch answered. Servant? Omote asked as she remembered the dazed look in Tsukune's eyes. That matches up with Tsukune. He's like a mindless zombie right now, Naruto stated. True, and it started after his lesson with that woman, Yura added with a frown. Just another reason to not like her. If that's true, then Tsukune's in trouble, Omote exclaimed. That boy always finds a way to get himself in trouble, Naruto sighed. Like you're one to talk, Yura said with a smirk. Okay, I get it. I attract unwanted attention at times, but we can focus on that later. We have mindless drone to rescue, Naruto said, causing the others to sweat drop at his lack of tact. With Ririko and Tsukune. Shall we begin? Ririko asked as she stripped from her teaching clothes, revealing the same leather outfit from the other day. M.O.T. Tsukune mumbled. What was that? Oh, M.O.T. san, he repeated, causing the math teacher to frown. Such a difficult student. I thought I told you to forget about her. Just listen to everything sensei say and everything will be fine, she told him. But I think the real problem here is Omote-san. It looks like we'll have to repeat yesterday's lesson, Ririko continued as her lower body began to change into that of a snake's. The end of her tail split open and latched itself onto Tsukune's head. Now just sit still. I'll send the knowledge into your mind and soon you'll forget all about that pesky pink-haired girl. Just remember, I'm doing what's best for you, she said with a smile as she began to transfer different mathematical facts into the human's mind. She was only able to do this for a few seconds before the door burst opened. Stop it! A voice shouted, startling her. Looking over her shoulder, she sneered when she saw Omote was the one who interrupted her, Naruto, and Yura by her side. What's going on here? What are you doing to Tsukune? Omote demanded. It's you two again. I am really getting tired of you getting in my way. She spat as she glared at the two vampires, causing Omote to look apprehensive while Yura looked uninterested. I see Naruto-kun has joined you as well, or did you come here for sensei's help? She asked as she gave him a flirtatious smile, causing Yura's eye to twitch. Naruto remained silent as he looked over her form before speaking. Aren't you a little too old to be wearing something like that? he asked, pointing to her leather outfit. What do you mean too old? I'm only 24, Ririko shouted. In the wiki it didn't give a specific number, it just said she was in her 20s. What? Naruto asked, looking genuinely shocked before muttering under his breath. The years have not been kind to you. What was that? Ririko snapped as Yura snickered. Nothing, Naruto said, raising his hands up in defense. Are you saying I'm old? Ririko asked through gritted teeth. No, I'm just saying you look old, Naruto answered, causing a tick mark to form on the math teacher's head, her face turning red with rage. Yura tried, but she couldn't take it. She may have only talked to this teacher for 2 days, but she really annoyed Yura to no end, and seeing her like this made her lose her control. So for the first time in years Yura laughed. It wasn't a cruel mocking laugh, but a genuine one. Naruto blinked at this at first before smiling. This was the first time he ever heard the silver-haired vampire laugh, and he rather liked the sound. What a nice sound. You should laugh more often, Yura-chan, Naruto said as she regained her breath, cheeks slightly flushed. We don't have enough time for your teasing, but I must thank you. It's been a while since I laughed like that, Yura said with a small smile, causing Naruto to blush. No problem. But I'm warning you, I really like that sound, so I'll be working hard to get you to laugh again, Naruto said with a grin. Yura just shook her head, but the smile was still in place. I'm still here, Ririko shouted in annoyance. First they call her old, and now they ignore her? She would make them pay. Oops, Naruto said as he scratched the back of his head sheepishly. Yura, on the other hand, gave her a blank look and shrugged. And? She asked. Did this woman expect her to care of something? Omote could only sweat drop at the scene. Despite the serious situation, those two still continued with their usual antics. Although she had to admit she was rather surprised to hear Yura laughing. It's been what felt like forever since she heard her sister laugh. I've had enough of you mocking me, Ririko screamed as she swung her tail at them. Naruto quickly grabbed Omote as he and Yura jumped out of the way to avoid getting hit. The tail passed them, hitting the floor, instead cracking it on impact. What is she anyway? Naruto asked as he set Omote down. She is a lamia, a creature that is able to control the mind of others. Do not let yourself get bitten by that mouth at the end of her tail, or else you will fall under her control, Yura explained. I am really glad I decided to skip her lessons, Naruto said as he watched saliva drip from the mouth at the end of her serpent-like tail. Everything I do is for the good of my students. I will not let you destroy all my hard work because of your petty reasons. The safety of our friend is a petty reason? Naruto asked, glaring at the teacher, but she paid no attention to it as she turned towards Tsukune. Look at Tsukune-kun here. He trusted his sensei, and now he has all the knowledge he needed and more. This is the true bond between a sensei and their student, she said with a smile as she cupped the human's cheek. Oi, he's your student. Can't you get fined or fired for this kind of thing? It's practically sexual harassment, Naruto said as he pointed at the two of them. Now is not the time for you to say such things. We have to watch out lest she takes over our mind, Yura warned, although she inwardly agreed. Ririko was rather touchy for a teacher. Omote, though, wasn't paying attention to their conversation. The only thing she could focus on was the woman who was manipulating her friend. She didn't even think, she simply acted. She clutched the notebook that she made for Tsukune and threw it with all her strength, nailing Ririko in the face. Stop saying all this nonsense and turn Tsukune back to normal now, Omote shouted with an uncharacteristic glare. She may be a typically happy girl, but if anyone tried to harm her friends, well, let's just say Yura isn't the only vampire that bares their fangs when angered. I've had it with you, Ririko screamed as she ripped the notebook in half, glaring hatefully at the pink-haired vampire paper scattered all over the place. I am the teacher here. Everything I do is for you, and yet you can't understand that. It's time I finish you off, you little brat, she continued as she swung her tail at Omote. Despite having her powers sealed, Yura was still a capable fighter. Quickly grabbing onto Omote, she moved them away from the tail. Seeing this as an opening, Naruto quickly sneaked past Ririko and approached Tsukune, who was still listing off different formulas, much to his annoyance. Alright, Tsukune, we're in trouble here all because of you and you're just standing here in La La Land. The least you could do is be present while we're going through all this shit. Naruto roared as he brought his fist down on the human's head hard. What happened? Tsukune asked groggily as he rubbed his sore head. Naruto blinked a few times when he saw Tsukune was no longer in his zombie-like state. Huh? That actually brought you back? Naruto asked incredulously. All it took was a good hit in the head to break free from Ririko's mind control? Wow, kind of lame. Naruto? What are we doing here? Tsukune asked. Well, you're here because you're today's damsel in distress. The rest of us are here to save your ass, Naruto said bluntly. He looked over his shoulder and cursed when he saw Ririko lash out at the two girls, her tail picking up speed making it more dangerous. Listen, we'll catch you up later but now isn't the right time, he added before charging at the math teacher who seemed to have forgotten about him. Big mistake. Leaping in the air, Naruto slammed a spinning heel kick to the side of Ririko's face, sending her crashing into the wall. With the opponent temporarily stunned, he turned to the vampires and sighed in relief to find them uninjured. He walked over to them and offered Yura a grin before reaching for her Rosario. I've been hogging the last couple of fights, so enjoy yourself, Yura-chan, he said, and with a flick of the wrist her Rosario snapped off as a wave of Yuki filled the room. Her pupils turned into slits as her red eyes seemed to glow. Her fangs were more pronounced, and her hand more claw-like. Her power now released, Yura allowed a smirk to grow as she took a step towards the direction Ririko was sent flying. Finally, now I can release some pent-up frustration. Sensei here had been grating at my nerves for some time, she said. Tsukune, please remove my Rosario, Omote pleaded when she noticed he was back to normal. While she was happy about this, they still had their opponent to deal with. Why? What's going on here? Tsukune asked in confusion. Why were his friends attacking Ririko-sensei? Are you sure you want to fight, Omote? I am more than enough to handle this woman, Yura said. Don't forget, Yura-chan, I'm a vampire too. Ririko-sensei has been saying some pretty mean things about me, so I think it's time for a little retribution, Omote said with a smile, but the look in her eyes said she was going to kick Ririko's ass. Hey, just because she doesn't like to fight doesn't mean she's a total pushover. Of course. Do as she says, Tsukune, Yura ordered with a smirk. It's not often that Omote acted like this, but who was she to stop her sister from having some fun? What's happening? What does she mean that sensei has been saying mean things? The clueless human asked, only to receive a smack to the back of his head. I already told you, we'll tell you later. Just take of her Rosario, Naruto said, exasperated. Tsukune frowned since he still didn't know what was happening but complied. He grabbed the Rosario, and just like with Naruto and Yura, it snapped off with a simple twist of the wrist. Another wave of Yuki filled the room, though smaller than the first, as Omote began to change. Her vibrant green eyes turned into a light shade of red, her pupils turning into slits. Her fangs grew as a sliver streak appeared on the left side of her hair. Thank you, Tsukune, the now transformed Omote said before turning to Ririko, who was just getting up. No more playing around. I'll end you all. This will be your punishment for disobeying your sensei, Ririko roared as she glared at them all furiously. TCH. Do not talk to me like that. You may be my sensei in title, but there is nothing that a narcissist like you could teach me, Yura said coldly before she vanished. What did you do? Ririko asked as she looked around the room. I do not take kindly to insults. This is my payback, a voice from above said. Ririko looked up only to scream in pain as the heel of a fool crashed into her face. Before she could react, she felt another wave of pain surge through her body. She looked down only to see Omote driving her knee into her stomach. Know your place, the twins said before rotating in the air, simultaneously kicking Ririko. Omote with a strong kick in the ribcage and Yura with a devastating blow to the back of the head. Ririko never stood a chance as her vision blacked out and fell to the ground unconscious. Okay, now that we took care of this, we have more important things to focus on, Naruto said as he handed Yura her Rosario, Tsukune doing the same with Omote. Like what? Omote asked as she returned to her sealed form. Like studying. I refuse to go to summer school. There is no way that's happening, Naruto said as he grabbed Yura's wrist and dragged her out of the room, leaving trail of dust behind them. Naruto, let go of me this instant! Yura yelled, but it fell on deaf ears. Tsukune and Omote's sweat dropped at this before the human turned towards the vampire. So Omote-san, can you please tell me what happened? Tsukune asked. Tsukune was shocked at what he heard, felt guilty that he hurt her feelings, and felt gratitude that she would still be willing to help him study. Day of the semester test. The students of Yokai Academy were sitting at their desks writing down what they believed were the correct answers. Yura and Omote were able to understand the material quite well, which was no real surprise seeing as how they were near the top of their year. Tsukune looked a bit worried as he wrote on his paper, but he was able to understand the material much easier than before. Naruto, on the other hand, was staring blankly at the paper. Why was the world so cruel? Life and death battles he could handle no problem. Intense training that could destroy someone's body, no sweat. But a test, Kami must really hate him. Well, I studied hard for this. If I'm going down fighting, Naruto thought as he glared at his head with a look of determination. Once the tests were over, Tsukune asked if he could talk to Naruto in private. Naruto was a little confused but didn't have a problem with it. The two of them were currently standing on the roof, Tsukune with a serious expression, while Naruto wore a questioning one. So, what can I help you with, Tsukune? The blonde asked as he tilted his head. The brown-haired human was silent as he took a deep breath before looking him straight in the eyes. Naruto, I need a favor. Chapter 13, Summer's here. Yes, I passed. That means no summer school. Naruto cheered as he looked at his graded test paper. An 82, which meant he passed. I'm looking forwards to this. Finally, a break from all the yokai. Tsukune added. The two of them were standing by the bus stop waiting for their friends so they could start their break. No longer wearing their uniform, Tsukune wore a simple pair of blue jeans and a plain white shirt with a short-sleeved black jacket over it. Naruto wore black jeans and an orange-collared shirt with the top few buttons left undone, and the sleeve rolled up to his elbow. Wonder what's taking them so long? Naruto asked, but Tsukune only shrugged. Morning, guys. They heard a cheerful voice call. The two boys turned to see a happy Omote running to them with Yura following her at a leisurely pace. Omote was wearing a red sundress with a matching jacket, while Yura was wearing a pair of jeans with a white long-sleeved shirt. There's the reason I passed, Naruto said as he hugged Yura when she got close enough. Yura, who finally got used to her blonde friend's antics, just sighed as she accepted the hug. She was surprised though when her feet suddenly left the ground and Naruto began to spin her around. What are you doing? Release me this instant. Yura shouted, but Naruto merely laughed and continued his action. Omote just smiled at them before turning to Tsukune. You guys showed up early. We still have 30 minutes. Omote said, but it fell on deaf ears. Tsukune was too bus-taking in her appearance. She's so cute, Tsukune thought in his mind as he felt himself blinded by the sight of her. He was about to answer, but before he could speak another voice interrupted him. Naruto, unhand me this instant, or I so help me, I'll turn you into a stain on this ground. Yura shouted, her face red with rage and embarrassment. No need to be so cruel, Yura-chan, Naruto said as he let go of the vampire. But I was just so happy. It's thanks to your help that I was able to pass that stupid test. If you want show gratitude, then let me suck your blood, not spin me around like a ragdoll, Yura said, causing Naruto's head to drop. He was afraid of this, but it looked like Yura had an addiction problem with his blood now. After settling down, the group of four sat down waiting for the rest of the group to arrive. First day of summer, it's a shame we can't go home for this, Tsukune commented. I don't mind. Chances are I'd be bored as hell if I went back to my village, Naruto said casually. It wasn't like he didn't miss his friends or anything, but chances were they would be too busy with missions, and he would end up alone with nothing to do. I agree. Not going home doesn't bother me in the least, Yura added. Sure, she loved her family, but sometimes they could be too much to handle, especially her younger sister. It doesn't matter. I'm sure our vacation will be lots of fun, Omote said cheerfully. I'm sure it will be, Tsukune agreed with a smile. Naruto watched as the two of them conversed happily before turning to Yura. Do you think Omo-chan and Yukari-chan will be alright? Naruto asked, remembering their reactions when it was announced that they would be going to the human world. Flashback 3 days earlier. We're going to camp out together? Tsukune asked with a surprised expression. That's right. It's summer vacation after all, we have to take advantage of our free time and do something fun. So we will be going to the human world to research how humans live. Nikanome explained, smiling brightly. Human world? I thought we weren't allowed to go to the human world during the school year, Naruto said. You're right. That is the rule unless Sensei got permission somehow, Yura added. Is it true? Are we really allowed to go back to the human world, Sensei? Tsukune asked with a hint of excitement. After living 4 months in a school of yokai, going to the human world sounded like a dream. It's fine as long as your sensei approves, Nikanome reassured before muttering under her breath. At least I think so. That's not all that reassuring, Tsukune shouted. So caught up in the news he didn't notice Omote or Yukari's nervous expression when they mentioned the human world, but Naruto and Yura did. Still, they decided to keep quiet for now and wait till they wanted to talk about it. End of flashback. I am not sure, although I think that Yukari is more afraid than Omote, Yura answered as Naruto shook his head in agreement. So where do you think we're going? Naruto asked curiously. I don't know, and to be perfectly honest, I don't really care, Yura said, shrugging her shoulders. Oh come on, Yura-chan, you have to lighten up a little. This can be a wonderful learning experience, Naruto said, seeing her lack of enthusiasm. Why would I want to learn? Quite frankly, I would be satisfied with ignoring the existence of humans altogether. Don't get me wrong, I don't hate them, but I don't love them either, she explained with an indifferent tone. But what about me and Tsukune? We're humans and you seem to enjoy our company, Naruto pointed out. That may be true, but you are the exception. I do not know how, but you have annoyed me to the point where it has become a part of my daily routine. And technically you are only half human. As for Tsukune, I can tolerate the boy solely for Omote's sake, Yura explained. Wow, that's an interesting way to view things. At least I know I'm special, Naruto finished with a smile. Yes, you are very special. I just don't know if it's good special or bad special, Yura said, rolling her eyes. No! A loud voice screamed. Turning around, they watched as a happy Kurumu dragged a protesting Yukari towards them. Come on, Yukari-chan, let's go or else we'll be late, Kuruma said as she continued to drag the witch. No, I changed my mind. I don't want to go to the human world, Yukari yelled as she tried to escape the succubus grasp. What's going on? Tsukune asked as the two girls reached them. Hello, Tsukune-kun. It's nothing really. Yukari-chan has just been whining about going to the human world. She says she doesn't want to go anymore, Kurumu answered, smiling dreamily at the human. Why don't you want to go anymore? Tsukune asked, confused. Yukari was thinking of a response, but Kurumu interrupted her before she could speak. She's probably just scared because she's never been there before. It's understandable, I guess. I mean, she is a little child and all, she said, but a basin appeared over her and slammed onto her head. What did you say? I don't want to hear something like that from someone who only has one brain cell, Yukari shouted, glaring at Kuruma. What did you say? Wait till I get my hands on you, Kuruma shouted, lunging at the witch, but Omote latched onto her from behind, trying to stop the irate succubus. This might not be as peaceful as I originally thought, Tsukune thought with a sweat drop. Oh look! The bus is on its way, Omote pointed out. Once it stopped in front of them, they began to enter, but before Yukari could enter, she felt a hand on her shoulder. Looking back, she saw Naruto looking at her with a comforting smile. Relax, Yukari-chan, I can see that you're really nervous, but it'll be alright. Me and the others will be right there for you, Naruto said, causing Yukari to relax a little. Thank you, Inai-san, she said quietly before entering the bus. You are a very powerful fighter, but inside you are a big softy, aren't you? Yura asked from behind him with a smirk. Naruto's answer was a simple shrug and a small chuckle. Getting in their seats, Naruto looked around and saw the bus driver and Nikanome in the front. I don't see Aromut anywhere. He's not coming? He asked, noticing their missing president. He failed the semester test, so he has to stay for summer school. Omote explained, causing Kurama to chuckle nervously. Well, I guess we better go since everyone's here, huh? Kurama said, sweating a bit. She definitely skipping summer school, Naruto thought, shaking his head. Hey, creepy bus driver guy. Let's get the show on the road, Naruto shouted with a grin. Said bus driver just chuckled before looking at the rearview mirror, his glowing eyes staring directly at Naruto through the reflection. Then you better buckle up. The ride can get a little bumpy, he instructed. This tunnel is connected to various places in the human world, so once we go through we won't be seeing the yokai world for a while. And with that he began to drive. Halfway through the tunnel the bus began to shake as if it was driving on a rocky roadway. Once they left the tunnel they looked out the windows to see lush green trees and a bright blue sky. Wait a second. We were on an open road, but it looks like we're in the middle of the forest right now, Naruto said, taking in the scenery. And I might be imagining this, but I think we passed a no trespassing sign, Kurama added. I think you're right. It looks like we're getting further and further from civilization, Yukari said as the bus finally stopped. When they got out of the bus they looked around to see a beautiful field of various flowers. Wow, this place is so beautiful, Omote said as she observed their surroundings, the others nodding in agreement. Naruto, though, was looking at the place wide-eyed. He knew where they were, but he wasn't expecting it. Hey bus driver. How did we get here without crossing a bridge? Naruto asked, gaining a confused look from the others and a smirk from the bus driver. Don't underestimate the capabilities of my bus boy, he said proudly, causing Naruto to shake his head a little. Why did you ask that, Naruto? Yura asked curiously. Because we're in the middle of an island and the only way to get here besides boat is by crossing the bridge to the mainland. And how do you know we're on an island? Yura questioned. I've been here before. Although it's been about 2 years or so, he explained. He looked around and saw an image of a young blonde-haired boy wearing an orange jumpsuit passed out. Suddenly a feminine-looking boy in a pink kimono walked up to him. You'll catch a cold sleeping out here, he said, nudging the boy awake. What I mean is that when someone fights for someone that is precious to them, that is when they can truly become strong, the voice of the feminine boy said. By the way, I'm a boy, he said, leaving a flabbergasted Naruto. Naruto chuckled as he went down memory lane, the others watching him curiously. Alright, that's enough standing around. We came here for our vacation, so let's go, Naruto said excitingly. Glad you like it here. It's been pretty famous lately, bus driver said, gaining their attention. Really? What for? Tsukune asked. A mysterious spot where one person after the other is spirited away, the bus driver explained, as if talking about the weather. Isn't anything spirited away poetic during this time of age? That's why you brought us here, isn't it? A frantic Tsukune accused. Really? I don't remember hearing anything like that when I was here, Naruto said, rubbing his chin in thought. Here's a newspaper, you can read about it here. Please do your best to not get spirited away, bus driver said, handing Omote the newspaper. Wait, what about you? Tsukune asked, but he was ignored. So sensei, want to get something to eat? I'll treat you to some nice tasty fish, the bus driver offered. Fish? Nikanome repeated with a smile. And just like that the newspaper club watched as the bus drive away, disappearing in the horizon. Wow, they ditched us, Naruto said, breaking the silence. What? Where are you going? You're not supposed to just leave us, Tsukune shouted. I can't believe this, Kurama shouted. What were they thinking? How could they just leave us here in the middle of nowhere? Tsukune said, waving his arms around frantically. We're going to starve to death, Yukari cried. This is bad. What are we going to do? Omote asked, worried. On the sidelines Naruto and Yura's sweat dropped. Have they always been this dramatic? Naruto asked. They've had their moments, Yura answered. Hey guys, relax. I know where we are. I've been here before. Naruto said, trying to calm them down, but he was ignored. I knew coming here was a mistake. I want to go home right now, Yukari screamed as she waved her arms around frantically. We just got here. Stop complaining, we'll figure something out, Kuruma shouted as she pulled Yukari's cheeks, much to her dismay. Let go of me, Yukao, the witch shouted. What did you call me? Kuruma asked, glaring at the younger girl. Come on guys, settle down, Omote said, playing her role as peacemaker as she and Tsukune tried to get them to calm down. They didn't listen to me, Naruto commented. Yura looked at the panicking group and then turned to Naruto. Where are we exactly? You said you've been here before? She asked. We're in the forest near the Land of Waves, he answered with a small smile. I've never heard of it. Yura mused, trying to remember if she ever heard of such a place, but nothing came to mind. If you want, I can tell you a little about it. I have some pretty good stories from my time here, Naruto said with a smile. Very well, Yura agreed, trying to hide her interest. She wouldn't admit it, but she was very curious about his life outside the school. He had a habit of avoiding any questions that revolved around his past. Whether it was intentionally or subconsciously, she had no idea. Naruto turned towards the rest of them and was about to yell in order to get their attention when he heard something. It sounded like a rustling sound, like something brushing against leaves as it ran through the plants. Turning around, Naruto tried to find the source of the noise but frowned when he couldn't. He continued to scan the area when he saw a blur. What the hell? He muttered, but Yura heard him. What is it? She asked as she began to scan the field. I heard something and then I just saw this blur. I have no idea what it is though. It's a lot faster than any normal animal that size though, Naruto explained. Continuing his search, he narrowed his eyes when he heard a primal roar. Hearing this, the bickering friends stopped their actions and looked around, wondering what that sound was. What was that? Omote asked. I don't know, but it didn't sound friendly, Naruto answered. What should we do? Tsukune asked. Naruto sniffed the air but frowned. The only thing he could smell was the scent of his friends and the plants. We should get out of here. Whatever it is has the advantage over us right now, Naruto explained, causing the others to increase in worry. What do you mean? Kuruma asked. What he means is that we cannot see it. It is using the plants here to mask its presence. We cannot see or smell it until it wants to be seen, Yura explained as another roar filled the air, but this time it was accompanied with others. It looks like it has some friends. For now we have to find a safe place where we can think of a way to stop them, Naruto added. The others nodded and looked around the field before Yukari noticed something in the distance. Look over there. I can see a cabin from here, she shouted, pointing towards the cabin. Let's go, we have to get out of this field, Omote added before the group ran towards the cabin. Weird, I never noticed a cabin around the last time I was here. It must be a new, Naruto idly thought. They were able to reach the cabin without getting attacked. Tsukune, who was the last one to enter, slammed the door behind him as everyone, except Yura and Naruto, panted as they tried to regain their breath. What the hell was that? This is the human world. How could something that can make that kind of noise be here? Tsukune asked. It's the human world, so what? In case you forgot, you're human, but you attend a school in the yokai world, so why can't the opposite happen? Naruto asked with a raised brow, causing the others to nod. It did make sense. Although the last time I was here I never heard anything like that, Naruto added. It could have something to do with about the people being spirited away that the bus driver talked about before he left, Yura offered, crossing her arms under her chest. Do you think Sensei brought us here to investigate? Omote asked, tilting her head to the side in a cute fashion. Possibly, Tsukune answered. Doesn't matter if she did or didn't. Now that I know we're in the Land of Waves, I'm going to do whatever I can to help, Naruto said. Things were getting a little quiet. I think I'll help, Yura said with a smirk. Are you sure? I know you two are strong, but who knows what that thing is? We're not at school anymore. Who knows what could happen? It's way too dangerous, Yukari said, a bit of fear in her voice. She knew she should have stayed at the academy, But no, she had to listen to her friends and go to the human world. Now they were hiding in a cabin from a group of who knows what. Maybe, but still Naruto started, but Yukari kept on going. We're in the human world. Something bad can really happen. Even my tarot cards are telling me that this vacation is ill-fated, she said, pulling out a deck of tarot cards. Finally Kuruma couldn't take it anymore. Your cards are worthless. I'm sick of this, you've been complaining non-stop. You're being a big baby right now. If you're scared, then just go back home by yourself. After all, you're the only one who wants to leave, she said, glaring at the young girl. That was a little harsh, Naruto muttered with a frown. Yukari was silent as she stared at Kuruma with emotionless eyes before her face contorted in rage. You big-boobed idiot. I'm not scared. The problem is that you don't understand anything, she shouted as she threw one of her tarot cards at the succubus, and then proceeded to storm out. Yukari-chan, wait! Omote called out, but she was ignored. That was too much, Kuruma-chan. She ran through the forest. Who knows what could happen to her, she said, glaring a little at Kuruma before it was replaced with a sweat drop. Is that tarot card made of iron? Tsukune asked as he pointed shakily at the card embedded in Kuruma's head, a geyser of blood comically bursting around it. She stabbed me, Kuruma said, feeling a bit woozy. I have to say, that was an impressive throw. She hit with great accuracy. I wonder how she did that, Yura said curiously. Whistling could be heard, and they turned to see Naruto trying, and failing, to look innocent. Seeing everyone look at him, Naruto adopted a sheepish expression. I may or may not have been teaching her how to throw her cards like I do with my shuriken, he admitted with a shrug. With Yukari. Yukari was walking through the forest fuming to herself. I grew up in a sealed-off village. I always saw humans as the enemy. But Tsukune is human and Naruto and I is half human, but still. How can they expect me to get over these feelings so quickly? They don't understand, she whispered. As she was walking, she heard a woman scream. Deciding to investigate, she walked towards the sound and saw a woman crouch down, looking as if she was trying to pull something from the cluster of plants that she and her friends escaped from earlier. Who are you? The woman asked, noticing Yukari, but the witch didn't answer. It's a human, Yukari thought as the woman looked at Yukari's wardrobe in slight confusion. Why are you dressed like that? Are you a witch? She asked, causing Yukari to flinch before turning away. Sorry, I thought someone else was in danger, Yukari said as she walked away. Please don't leave. My son is going to be eaten, the woman pleaded. Yukari looked over her shoulder and noticed that the woman was trying to pull a young boy away from the plants, but a vine of some kind was snaked around his leg, pulling him away from the woman. The plant is feeding of the human. Is this some type of magic? Yukari wondering, seeing as how more vines snaked around the boy. Suddenly a strange creature with sharp teeth crawled out of the plants and looked at them, drool falling from its mouth. Food! The creature shouted as it lounged at them, causing Yukari to close her eyes, but they snapped open when she heard the woman scream as she pulled her son closer to her. Who cares if she's a witch? She's still a living being who deserves to be treated with respect. The sudden voice in her head caused her eyes to widen. She remembered the first time she met Naruto. He didn't care that she was a witch. The only thing he cared about was that she was a person who deserved to be treated fairly. Naruto gave me a chance. I shouldn't forsake this woman and her son just because she's human. That would make me like the people who have bullied me for being a witch, she thought as she glared at the plant monster approaching. Reaching into her cloak, she pulled out a deck of cards and with great precision she threw them and the plant monster. The monster hissed in pain as the cards stabbed it. Smirking a little, Yukari pulled out her wand and pointed it at the monster. I won't lose to a stupid plant like you. Take this. It's my magic wand-controlled tarot card attack, Yukari declared, but gasped in surprise when nothing happened. It didn't work? She asked, and her eyes widened in horror when plant monsters rose from the field. This isn't good, she said as a vine shot towards her and wrapped itself around her arm before pulling her towards it, causing her to scream. Closing her eyes, she prepared herself for the end when one of the plant monster exploded in blood, dropping her in the process. Opening her eyes, she was surprised when she found herself in the arms of Naruto, who was glaring at the plant monsters. Naruto and I? What are you doing here? She asked once he set her down. She winced when Naruto bopped her on the head. Nursing the lump on her head, she looked at Naruto with teary eyes. What kind of question is that? Like I'd leave you out here all alone, he told her. Where are the others? She asked, looking around. We decided to split up in order to find you. They should be here soon from all the noise these guys are making. I was just faster, probably closer too, Naruto answered. I could probably take these things out with a fire jutsu, but that would burn the whole place, not just the monsters. Naruto thought, coating his hands in wind chakra as his hands resembled claws. Sit back and relax, Yukari-chan, I'll take care of this, Naruto said, charging at the group of plant monsters, slicing them down before they could reach him. Yukari stood there watching, but then she heard Kuruma's words from earlier. You're being a big baby right now. If you're scared, then just go back home by yourself. Hearing this caused her eyes to narrow as she clutched her wand tightly. I'm not a scared little baby. I can fight too, she said, pulling out her tarot cards. Aiming at the monsters in front of her, she threw them before aiming her wand as she began to chant some kind of incantation. The only reason my last attack failed was because it was too weak. But if I can harness the full magic for this spell, I can increase its attack power. She thought, completely her spell. The next thing she knew, her cards flew at high speeds, cutting down anything in their path. Naruto watched with wide eyes as Yukari sliced through the strange plant-like monsters. Once he realized what happened, he couldn't help but laugh. Yukari looked at him in confusion, wondering what was so funny. Damn, Yukari-chan! Not only are you a child genius, but you can also kick major ass, Naruto praised, causing the young witch to blush. It was nothing really, she said sheepishly. Don't sell yourself so short, Yukari-chan. That was amazing, Naruto said, smiling at her modesty. What happened here? They heard someone ask. Turning around, they watched as the rest of their group approached them as they surveyed the area. What's with all these plant things? Kuruma asked. Do you think they were the ones making all that noise before? Omot asked. Most likely, but I do wonder what happened here, Yura answered. It was probably Naruto. He cut these things to ribbons, Kuruma answered. Wrong, Yukari-chan here was the one. She took down these things, Naruto corrected. Really? Yura asked with a raised brow as she looked at Yukari before nodding with a smirk. Not bad, Yukari. Like I told Naruto, it was nothing, a blushing Yukari said as she rubbed the back of her head sheepishly. Kuruma thought was silent as she studied the area. She fought and beat all these things when I called her a baby, she thought before turning towards the young girl. I guess I was wrong about you, Yukari-chan. You're not a baby after all, she said with an apologetic smile. Thank you so much for saving me and my son, the woman said as she bowed in gratitude. Thanks a lot, the son added since he was freed from the vines. He looked at the group and his eyes widened when they landed on Naruto. Mom, it's Naruto and I, the boy said, looking at Naruto in shock. The mother blinked in confusion before looking at Naruto, and her eyes widened too. Naruto looked at them curiously before recognition hit him, and he smiled widely at them. Inari. Tsunami. It's great to see you guys again, he said before he was tackled by a thrilled Inari. Ni-san, you're back. The younger boy cheered as he hugged the laughing blonde. Naruto returned the hug before turning towards a smiling Tsunami. What's wrong, Tsunami? You're not happy to see me? He asked with a pout as he opened his arms, gesturing for her to join the hug. Tsunami shook her head in amusement but complied as she gave him a hug. It's nice to see you again, Naruto, she greeted after releasing him. Naruto, you know these people? Tsukune asked, watching the scene, everyone from Yokai Academy looking on in confusion. Oh right, this is Tsunami and her son Inari. Guys, these are my friends from school, Yuri-chan, Tsukune, Omo-chan, Kuruma-chan and Yukari-chan, he introduced as he pointed to each person when their name was called. It's a pleasure to meet you. Any friends of Naruto are welcomed here, Tsunami said, offering a polite bow in greeting. What are you doing here anyway, Anai-san? Inari asked curiously. My friends and I are here for summer vacation, but our sensei kind of ditched us. Naruto said the last bit sheepishly. Really? Well, if you need a place to stay, you're more than welcome to stay at our home. Tsunami offered. Really? Omode asked hopefully. Of course. After everything Naruto has done for our village, it's the least we can do. Tsunami said as she and Inari looked at Naruto, causing him to blush while the others looked at them curiously. Seeing their looks, Naruto smiled. I'll tell you the story about it once we get there. Thanks for the offer, Tsunami, Naruto said, and with that they began to walk through the forest heading for their destination. What they didn't notice was a figure hiding behind a tree, their red eyes glaring at their retreating backs before it disappeared. Unknown location. A witch? There's a witch in my territory? An elderly voice asked. Yes, she is young, but she has much potential. Her current level of magic is already very impressive. A girl with red eyes explained. She was able to completely destroy the plants that were instructed to protect the fields. Although she did have an accomplice. The red-eyed girl continued. I see. I can't even remember when the last time I saw another witch here. We must bring her to our side. After all, we are of the same blood, the other voice said. With Naruto and the others. Isn't that Naruto Uzumaki? A civilian asked. I think it is. Our hero has returned. You think he'd give me his autograph? The others looked at Naruto as they heard more whispers, but Naruto just waved them off as he talked with Inari, who was ecstatic to see his big brother figure again. They finally reached their destination. As they walked through the door, Tsunami suddenly remembered something. I forgot to mention this, Naruto, but we have some shinobi from Konoha staying here as well for a mission. Tsunami informed him. Really? I wonder who? Naruto said as he entered the dining room, but froze when he saw who was in there. The others watched him as his face went from cheerful to curious and finally to emotionless. Yura looked at the other guests in the room and wondered why Naruto was staring at the pink-haired girl with eyes devoid of any emotion. The other occupants looked shocked when they saw Naruto enter the room. No one said anything as Naruto and the pink-haired girl continued to stare at each other. One with indifference, and the other with surprise. Before anyone could say anything, Naruto spoke. It's been a while, hasn't it, Sakura? Chapter 14 Blast from the Past. You could practically cut the tension with a knife as Naruto and the pink-haired girl, Sakura, stared at each other. The newspaper club looked down curiously, wondering what was going on with their blonde friend. First they arrive at some village that regard him as some sort of hero, at least according to the hushed whispers they heard, and now they enter a room with people they've never seen, but based on their looks and Naruto's reaction they seem to have known each other. Naruto, is that you? Sakura asked, finally breaking the silence. Well, I'll be. Looks like she remembers me after all, Naruto said with a smirk before looked at the remaining occupants. There was a girl with brown hair tied up into two buns, a boy clad in green with large eyebrows and a bowl-cut hairdo, and finally another boy with long brown hair and white pupil-less eyes. Getting out of their shock, the boy with the large eyebrows spoke first as a grin broke free on his face before tackling Naruto into a hug. Naruto-kun, my friend! It is great to see you! He shouted enthusiastically. Good to see you too, Lee. Hey, Niji Tenten. Naruto greeted, nodding to the others. Tenten just waved while Niji smiled a little and nodded in greeting. This is quite the surprise. It is good to see you again, Niji said. Damn right, this is a surprise. So how have you been? The last letter I got from Bachan said you were just promoted to Jonin. Congrats, by the way, Naruto said with a smirk. Yes, Niji has truly shown how bright his flames of youth shine when he was promoted, Lee said, releasing Naruto from his hold. Hearing this caused Yura to blink, as she recalled what Naruto said when he tried to think of an excuse explaining his shinobi skills. You have told us you are human and I believe you. But what I want to know is how you were able to do those strange techniques. I don't know what you are talking about. Let me refresh your memory. When we first faced Saizo, you created some strange blue orb. Against Kurumi you were able to block my kick, which should be impossible for a human. And of course there was yesterday. Are you honestly going to try and deny the fact that you were standing on water when there were plenty of witnesses? I channeled my inner flames of youth. Turning towards Naruto, she looked at him curiously. Is this where you got that flam? She started, but Naruto cut her off by covering her mouth with his hand. Please don't mention that. If he hears I said that, he would never leave me alone again. I'll do anything, just don't tell him. Naruto whispered to her, pleading with his eyes. Very well, I will hold you up on that offer though, she said with a smirk when he removed his hand, causing him to sigh in relief. So who are these guys, Naruto? Sakura asked, frowning that Naruto was practically ignoring her, and that he seemed awfully close to that silver-haired girl. Naruto merely glanced at her before turning towards the rest of the occupants, missing how Sakura's frown deepened. These are my friends from Yokai Academy, Naruto said with a large grin. Hello, my name is Omote Akashiya, Omote said with a friendly smile. I am Tsukune. Hiya. My name is Kuruma Kurono, the succubus said brightly, waving at them. I'm Yukari Sendo, it's nice to meet you, the young witch said a bit nervously. She was still wary around humans, but Naruto seemed to know and trust them, so she would give them a chance. That left Yura, but when they turned to them, she just returned their expectant looks with one of boredom. What? She asked blankly, causing them to sweat drop, but Naruto just chuckled as he slung an arm around her shoulders and pulled her closer to him. No need to be so cold. This is Yura Akashiya, she was my first friend at the academy, Naruto said, smiling widely. Don't be so modest, and Ai-san. Everyone knows she's your girlfriend, Yukari chimed. The two were silent until they realized what she said, and their faces turned tomato red. What? She's not my girlfriend, the flustered teens shouted in unison. See? They're already in sync with each other, Yukari added, ignoring their denial. It's nice that you got yourself a girlfriend, Naruto. And such a pretty one too, Tsunami added, smiling at their fluster state. Yash! To think that you would get such a beautiful girlfriend. You really have been embracing the ways of youth, Lee cheered, giving them the thumbs up. It's not like that. She's just a really good friend. Hell, I'd go as far as calling her my best friend, Naruto said, causing Yura's eyes to widen a bit. She did not know that. She looked around and saw how the rest of the newspaper club looked like they were told something obvious, except for Yukari, who seemed to be miffed at them for denying that they were in a romantic relationship. She also noticed Sakura glaring at her a bit before turning towards Naruto. She's your best friend? What about Sasuke-kun? The pink-haired shinobi asked. Naruto's eyes hardened as he looked at her with the same emotionless look he had when he first laid eyes on her. What about Sasuke? In case you forgot, he tried to kill me, Naruto said like she was stupid, but when it came to her precious Sasuke, she kind of was stupid despite her book smarts. The newspaper club widened their eyes at this bit of information. Naruto had a friend who tried to kill him. He never talked about something like that. Now that they thought about it, there were a lot of things that Naruto never talked about. All of it revolving around his life outside of the school. It's nice to meet you all. My name is Niji Hyuga. I am one of Naruto's friends from our village, Niji said before things escalated. Sasuke was a sensitive topic for the members of what used to be Team 7. Naruto accepted that Sasuke betrayed Konoha, but Sakura refused to leave the past, saying that they should get him back so things could go back to normal. When Naruto quit being a shinobi, Sakura said he was being selfish. The only reason he quit was so he didn't have to try and bring Sasuke back, hoping that Sakura would eventually forget about the estranged Uchiha and try to make her love him instead. Hello, my name is Rock Lee. It is a pleasure to meet you all, Lee shouted as he gave them the nice guy pose. And I'm Tenten, the remaining female said. I'm Sakura Haruno, but I'm sure you've heard all about me from Naruto, Sakura said confidently. The students of Yokai Academy blinked before looking at each other, and then back at Sakura. Never heard of you, they all said in unison, causing her to face fault. What do you mean you've never heard of me? She shrieked, causing everyone in the room to wince at the volume. Yura glared at her hard. Did she have to be so loud? What we mean is that Naruto never mentioned you. Not once. Does that answer your question? Yura said. Sakura glared at her before turning towards Naruto. Why haven't you told them about me? She asked, anger clear in her voice. Why should I? Naruto asked plainly. Because we're teammates, you baka. She shouted, causing Naruto to raise an eyebrow. So? Does that mean you talk about me when you meet with others? He asked plainly, causing the girl to scoff. Why would I talk about a baka like you? She asked. And why would I talk about a useless bitch like you? Naruto replied smoothly, although he was grinning like crazy in his mind. God, it felt so good to finally say that. What did you say? Sakura asked, trembling in rage. I thought I was pretty clear, but you want me to say it again. Okay, I said, why would I talk about a useless bitch like you? He repeated slowly, like he was talking to a child. The newspaper club watched in stunned silence. They didn't know the history between Naruto and Sakura, but they could tell it wasn't good because they've never seen the blonde talk this way. I don't want to hear that from a coward like you, she hissed back as the Konoha shinobi exchanged nervous glances. Coward? Oh, this ought to be good. Please explain to me how I'm a coward, Naruto said with his arms crossed. Yes, a coward. Why else would you quit being a shinobi? Because you were scared. After Sasuke-kun beat you, you realized you really were the dead last and that you had no real future as a shinobi, she said, looking at him with a smug smirk. Seeing this caused Yura to glare as she felt her blood boil. She realized something. She didn't like Sakura Haruno. Nope, not one bit. Surprisingly, though, Naruto began to laugh. That's what you think. First of all, I quit because I got tired of risking my life for a village that didn't give a shit about me. And what about you? If I remember correctly, you begged me to save your precious Sasuke, who decided to betray us while you stayed safe and sound in the village crying. Whatever, Tsunami, it's been a long day for us. Do you mind if I take a nap in one of the spare rooms? Naruto asked, not wanting to deal with Sakura. Of course, Tsunami said, wondering what happened between Team 7 since their last visit to Wave. Nodding gratefully, Naruto went to leave the room before looking over his shoulder, his eyes locking with Sakura's. Oh, and by the way, earlier you said we were teammates. We never were. A teammate is someone you can trust and rely on. I know for a fact that you would betray me without a moment's hesitation if Sasuke was involved. We're not friends or friendly acquaintances. You are simply someone who I had the misfortune of working with. Nothing more. And with that he left the room. Well, that was pleasant, Yura said, breaking the silence. Shut up. This doesn't concern you, Sakura spat before storming out of the room. Did that pest just tell me to shut up? Yura growled out, glaring at the direction Sakura left. Who did she think she was ordering her around? What was that about? Tsukune asked, hoping to distract Yura before she chased after Sakura. Yura was a person who did not take disrespect that well. While Naruto liked to tease her, he always respected her. Those two have some very bad history between them, Neji explained. Really? They got along pretty well when they were here. Sure, they argued and stuff, but still, Inari said, confused. Something happened with their third teammate Sasuke. After that, things between Naruto-kun and Sakura-chan have been very tense, Lee informed them. It really isn't for us to say. If you want answers, you'll have to ask Naruto. But this is pretty personal, so he might push the subject away, Neji added before they asked any more questions. You seem pretty close to Naruto. Why don't you tell us how you met Inari? Omote asked, causing the young boy to grin as he told them about his last meeting with his brother figure. Next day. The next day, Naruto met up with Tazuna and the two engaged in a friendly conversation. After eating breakfast, Naruto decided he was going to show his friends around Wave. As they got ready to leave, he noticed the Konoha shinobi preparing to leave. Where you guys going? The blonde asked curiously. Unlike you, we are not here on a vacation. We are on a mission and we decided to investigate today, Neji answered. Really? What is it? Or is it classified? Naruto asked curiously. People have been going missing for a while. There is no concrete proof, but people have been saying a witch is responsible, Neji answered, causing the Yokai Academy students' eyes to widen. Really? A witch? Yura asked curiously. When Naruto left the room, the rest of the Konoha shinobi explained a little bit about how the shinobi world works, so she was a little interested in some of the missions they went on. The others were just plain shocked when they found out Naruto was a shinobi, since he never mentioned it to them before. It may seem a little far-fetched, but we've seen stranger things in our line of work, Tenten said, thinking their looks were ones of skepticism instead of shock. After all, why should they be skeptical when one of their own is a witch? Do you really think it's a witch? Yukari asked. She didn't have proof to deny their claim, but that didn't mean she would just stand there and let her race get blamed for something they may not have done. As of right now, that's all we have. But now that I'm taking a closer look at you, you're dressed just like a witch. Maybe you're responsible for all the disappearance, Sakura said as she looked at Yukari suspiciously, causing the young girl to flinch. Back off, Sakura. Yukari-chan just got here with us yesterday, Naruto warned, glaring at the pink-haired Kunoichi. He is right, Sakura, Niji agreed. We cannot place the blame on anyone without any proof. Whatever, Sakura scoffed before leaving the house. Sorry about that, Naruto, Niji apologized. It's not your fault, but you should probably mention her unprofessional attitude to Bachan when you give her your mention briefing, Naruto suggested. Niji nodded before he left with the rest of his team. Come on, Gaki. Wave has really changed since you've been here, Tazuna said once the Konoha group was gone. Alright then, let's go, Naruto agreed as he and the rest of the newspaper club followed Tazuna to explore the village. As they walked through the streets, they couldn't help but notice how the civilians here treated Naruto. They were looking at them as if he were a hero. They heard from Inari and Tsunami about Naruto's mission in Wave and how he helped free their country, but it was still a big surprise for them. I've never been to a place like this in the human world, but it's still really nice here, Tsukune thought with a smile. He looked to see Naruto and Tazuna taking jovially. Yura was taking in the surroundings, but every now and then Naruto would get her involved in the conversation between him and the bridge builder. Omote and Kuruma were looking at their surroundings with childlike excitement, never being in a place like this before, but Yukari was still a little nervous. I really hope that the girls enjoy their time here in the human world, he added, but his musings were cut short when he heard some murmuring. Hey, check it out, a male said, pointing at their group. Oh man, do you see how hot they are? Another asked, pointing at the girls. The pink-haired girl is so cute, someone pointed out with hearts in his eyes. That blue-haired girl has the hugest rack I've ever seen, another said. The one with silver hair is so hot. I don't think I've ever seen such a beauty before, another added. Do you think they're models? Someone asked excitingly as they began to crowd around the girls, pushing Tsukune out of the way. What's going on? Omote asked a little nervously when she noticed they were surrounded by a crowd of human males. Isn't it obvious? We escaped the lovesick boys at Yokai Academy only to meet another group of boys who act like fools around us. Yura scoffed, glaring at one of the boys who tried to get too close to her. Needless to say, he backed away quickly but still gawked at them from a safe distance. Why does this always have to happen? Naruto, can't you do something about this? Tsukune asked, turning towards the blonde only to sweat drop when he saw Naruto in the same position. The only difference was that the girls surrounding Naruto had no problem touching him based on the way they were pulling him around. Tsukune! Help me! Naruto screamed before drowning in a sea of girls. On the side, Tazuna merely laughed at the blonde's misfortune. Separated from the group, Yukari was accidentally pushed to the ground by a random boy who was trying to get a good look at the beautiful girls who were visiting Wave. Why did they have to push me? That wasn't very nice. Yukari whined but blinked when someone held a hand out to her. Looking up, she paled when she saw a group of creepy guys staring at her. You're so cute. Let me help you up. Look at that costume. Is it cosplay? Can we take a picture with you? Kya! Get away from me! Yukari screamed, jumping to her feet, trying to run away, but the large crowd trapped her. I'm surrounded. There are so many humans here. Where's everybody else? Yukari thought frantically as she broke into a nervous sweat. Go away, she said quietly, but they didn't listen. Instead, they took a step closer. Stay back, she said a bit louder, but again she was ignored. Don't come any closer, she shouted as she reached for her wand. Just as she was about to cast a spell, someone grabbed her shoulder. Are you alright, Yukari-chan? Tsukune asked. He was trying to reach the other girls, but the crowd was so thick he couldn't. That was when he noticed a frightened Yukari being surrounded by strangers. Tsukune-kun? Yeah, I'm okay. She lied as she released the hold on her wand. She was anything but alright. She was surrounded by too many humans. While she said she would try and give them a chance, that didn't mean she was ready to deal with so many all at once. Tsukune, Yukari-chan! They heard someone shout. Turning around, they saw that the other girls were able to escape from the crowd of boys and were heading towards them with Omote in the lead. What happened? Kuruma asked. Yukari-chan got separated from us and got a little startled when a bunch of strangers surrounded her. Tsukune explained. And Naruto? Omote asked, looking around, finding no sign of the blonde. Tsukune sighed before pointing at a group of girls. In the center of it, they could just make out a struggling Naruto who tried but failed to escape their clutches. It looked like he's more popular than we originally thought, Tsukune said. Do you think we should help him? Kuruma asked as they continued to watch the blonde struggle. Naruto's eyes landed on them and glared when he saw his friends just standing there. Hey! I see you guys. Why the hell are you just standing there? Help me, damn it! Hey, wait! No, don't touch me there! He shouted as his attention diverted back to the girls clinging to him. I guess we should be lucky our admirers aren't this bold, huh? Omote asked, getting a nod of agreement from the rest. Yura was silent as she watched the scene in front of her, her eyes twitching furiously. Again, she was confused as to why she was angry, but that didn't change the fact that she was. The others watched as the silver-haired girl stomped towards Naruto, shoving any girl that got in the way. Ah, what the hell? What are you doing? Stop shoving! There were more comments, but Yura ignored them all. Finally reaching Naruto, she grabbed the back of his collar and proceeded to drag him through the crowd, glaring at any girl who tried to get him back. They seemed to get the idea as they backed away, but not without grumbling in disappointment that their hero was already taken. Yura ignored that in favor of getting Naruto to the rest of the group. Finally reaching them, she released his hold on him, causing him to hit the ground panting for air. There, now that we have him back, we can continue with this tour, Yura said plainly. Before anyone could say anything else, though, a pair of arms wrapped around her from behind, and she found herself pulled into the chest of Naruto, as he hugged her tightly, burying his face where her neck and shoulder met. Thank you so much, Yura-chan. I really thought I was going to die back there, Naruto said, suppressing a shiver. He's faces missing Nin, psychotic killers, a giant demon, and multiple yokai, but fangirls were a whole new level of scary that he wasn't ready to face yet. Chances are he would never be ready. Yura, though, didn't say anything. Her eyes widened and she could feel her cheeks burn. She had gotten used to Naruto hugging her or slinging an arm around her shoulders. At first it annoyed her, but she soon realized it was a part of who he was and it wasn't going anywhere anytime soon. It was because of this that she got used to the action, but what she didn't expect was that she was starting to enjoy it as well. Not that she would ever tell him, or anyone for that matter. Feeling his breath tickling her skin, she couldn't stop the shiver that went down her spine, even if she had no idea why she shivered. Hey Gaki, you can cuddle with your girl later. I still have to give you guys a tour, Tsukune said, interrupting that little moment. Amusement could clearly be heard in his voice. Naruto blinked before looking at Tsukune and releasing a sigh. Not you too, you old drunk. I already told you guys that Yura-chan is not my girlfriend, Naruto said, causing Tsukune to snort. I'd find that more believable if you weren't holding her like you are now, the bridge builder pointed out. What the hell are you talking about, old man? Naruto asked before looking at his position. Realizing how close he was holding Yura to him, he immediately let go, his face burning with embarrassment. Oops. My bad, I was just so thankful that she saved me from that mob of wild girls, he tried to explain. Whatever you say. Now come on, let's go, Tsukune said as he continued on his way, the students of Yokai Academy following behind. Finally at the spot he wanted to start the tour, Tsukune turned to the group of students with a large grin on his face. Alright, here we are. This is the pride and joy of Wave. he said, gesturing at the large bridge behind him. Welcome to the Great Naruto Bridge. The others looked at the impressive-looking bridge but blinked when they heard the name. Looking closer, they were able to see a plaque. The Great Naruto Bridge, named after the young hero who saved our country and restored our hope. They turned towards Naruto, who was blinking owlishly. This was obviously a surprise to him too. He turned to Tsukune, who had a smirk at seeing his gobsmacked expression. You named the bridge after me? He asked, pointing at the plaque. It wasn't my first choice. I originally thought it should be called the Super Sexy Tsukune Bridge, but for some reason I was the only one who liked that name. Tsukune said in a depressed tone, missing the snort from Naruto. It was actually Inari's idea to name the bridge after you, and the rest of us agreed. So it's true? You really saved this country? Yura asked, looking at Naruto with an arched brow. It's not like I did it by myself, Naruto said, sheepishly blushing a bit at the looks he was receiving. Quit being modest, Gaki. You're the one who gave us the courage to fight for our home, Tsukune said, patting Naruto on the back. And here I thought Inari was exaggerating. Yura mused. The kid may have embellished a few of the details, but that's because he looks up to Naruto, Tsukune admitted. I still can't believe you saved this place from a tyrant like that Gato person, Omote said. She waited for Naruto to say something, but she was met with silence. Confused, she turned to the blonde and saw that he was staring at the bridge with a thoughtful look. Naruto? Are you okay? Omote asked, causing the others to look at him in confusion, but Naruto didn't hear her. Instead, his gaze was focused on the bridge, watching a scene that only he could see. He watched as blonde-haired boy wearing an orange jumpsuit was stuck in a dome of frozen mirrors with a black-haired boy. He watched as an onslaught of needles headed straight for the blonde, only for the black-haired boy to use his body as a shield, saving the blonde. He watched as the blonde lost himself in rage as red chakra surrounded him, his features becoming more feral. He watched as he punched their masked captor in the face, breaking the mask, revealing the face of a feminine-looking boy who was slightly older. He listened as the boy told him how he was alone, only to be saved by a man others considered a demon. He cursed when the boy said he had no purpose in life now that he failed the one who was most precious to him. Naruto watched as the feminine-looking boy closed his eyes, waiting for death, only for fate to intervene. The boy's eyes snapped open, and he vanished before the young blonde could deliver the finishing blow. The scenes progressed until the feminine-looking boy took a fatal blow meant for the one most precious to him. He watched as the masked man fought against a group of thugs to reach Gato in order to kill the man who had the nerve to dishonor his apprentice's death. Naruto clenched his fist as he watched snow fall from the sky as the two people who were once his enemies died together. Naruto! A voice shouted, snapping him out of memory land. Blinking, he turned to see the others looking at him strangely. What happened? Naruto asked sheepishly. Why don't you tell us? You just spaced out on us, Yura said, crossing her arms. Sorry about that, just got lost in the past, Naruto said, scratching the back of his head before turning to Tsukune. Hey old man, you think I can get a rain check on the tour? I kinda want to visit some old friends. Tsukune looked at him confused, trying to think of who Naruto was talking about. He watched as Naruto kept stealing glances at the bridge as if he was reliving the past until his eyes widened in realization. No problem, kid. Tell you what, you can stop by the flower shop to pick something up from them. Tell them to put it on my tab, Tsukune said, causing Naruto to smile. Thanks a lot, Tsukune. I'll see you guys back at the house. There's something I have to do, Naruto said before running off. Where's he going? Kuruma asked as they watched the distance between them and the blonde increase. He's just going to visit some people. Now, enough dilly-dallying. Let's get this tour started, Tsukune said as he turned to another direction. The others followed, but Yura looked over her shoulder at the direction Naruto left. With Naruto was whistling a tune as he walked through the forest. In his hand were two small bouquets of flowers. He stopped when he reached his destination and just stared at what was in front of him. In front of him were two small wooden crosses. One had a large sword stabbed to the ground beneath it, while the other had a white sash wrapped around it. It's been a while. Good to see you again, Zabuza Haku, Naruto said as he placed the flowers in front of the graves. Naruto stuffed his hand into his pockets as he stared at the graves, his expression one of deep thought. You don't have to hide. You can join me if you want, Naruto suddenly said, not turning away from the graves. There was a moment of silence before the sound of footsteps reached his ears. He finally moved his eyes from the graves to look at his guest. So what made you decide to join me, Yuri-chan? He asked curiously. Yura looked at her friend to try and gauge his reaction. He didn't seem upset that she followed him despite how personal this seemed. She was curious about what he was doing but was surprised when she saw him visiting some graves. She was going to leave to allow him the privacy he deserved, but he called her out. Knowing she was caught, she walked over to him instead of trying to deny it. While the tour was enjoyable, I found myself unable to stay with them, Yura answered. And why is that? Naruto asked with a confused frown. Because Yukari and Kurumu decided to have another discussion about breast size. And while the nearby males seemed to have enjoyed the conversation, I did not. I thought it would be best to leave before I lost my sanity, but I was still curious about this place, so I thought I would come find you, she explained, causing Naruto to nod in understanding. I see. That won't be a problem, will? Yura asked genuinely. She did not want to intrude in this if it was personal. While she was curious about Naruto's past, she would wait until he would want to talk about it rather than prying into his business. It's no problem, Naruto reassured before turning back to the graves. Yura looked on as well. Although she didn't know who they were, she remained silent in respect. The two of them stood there in comfortable silence until Naruto spoke. You know, he was probably the first person I ever considered a friend, Naruto said, pointing to the grave that had the white cloth wrapped around it. Yura looked at him curiously but remained silent in case he wanted to continue. She didn't have to wait long. His name was Haku. I met him about 2 years ago when I first came to Wave. In fact, the field that we were at yesterday was where I first met him. Funny thing is, I thought he was a girl. Imagine my surprise when he told me that. I was so surprised because I thought he was one of the most beautiful girls I ever saw, Naruto said, chuckling as remembered his reaction when Haku said he was a boy. Yura raised an eyebrow and smirked in amusement when she heard but remained silent. We talked a little bit, and he said something that really stuck with me. He said that when someone has someone precious to them, that's when they truly become strong. After that we talked a bit, and we went our separate ways. I remembered hoping to meet him another day, he continued. Turns out I would see him again. But it was on the battlefield. Not only that, but we were on opposite sides, Naruto said, causing Yura's eyes to widen a bit. True, she heard about his mission from Inari when he explained it to the rest of them, but he did not know all the personal details. At first I didn't know he was the enemy since he wore a mask. He aimed an attack at me, but my teammate Sasuke blocked it. It looked like he killed him, and I went berserk. I started to beat him senseless, but then I smashed the mask he wore, and when I saw his face I froze. Once the fighting ended, he asked me to kill him. I was confused at first, but he told me that he failed his master, the person who gave him purpose. He said he was nothing but a broken tool. I was angry at first, but I decided to give him what he wanted. He was a strong person, and he deserved an honorable death, Naruto said, looking up at the sky. I was about to deliver the finishing blow, but he dodged at the last second. Turns out his master was in danger. He quickly ran to him and took the blow meant for his master, killing himself in the process. As much as I hated the fact that he died, I couldn't help but find it fitting. He died protecting the one who was most precious to him. The one who gave him a reason to live, Naruto finished before pointing at the grave with the large sword behind it. That was his master. His name was Zabuza Momochi. He was one tough bastard, I'll tell you that. After Haku died protecting him, Gato came by and told us that he was canceling their contract. That he never planned on paying Zabuza, that he was going to kill him from the start. Needless to say, Zabuza was pissed. Zabuza was already injured. He lost the use of his arms, but he didn't let that stop him. He asked for a kunai and caught it with his teeth and then charged. He plowed through the thugs and killed Gato. But the thing that got me was that Zabuza was crying. He was a hardened warrior taught to block out emotions, but he cried when his apprentice, someone who was like a son to him, died protecting him. Naruto explained as Yura continued to listen. I learned something from those two. To always protect those precious to you, and that shinobi, no matter how seasoned, are still human beings. That no matter what, we still have emotions and it is alright to express them. Naruto finished. Yura waited to see if he was done talking. Seeing as he was done with his story, she decided to ask questions. You said that he was your first friend. What about your village? She asked carefully. Naruto was silent for a while, deciding if he should tell her the truth. Taking a deep breath, he made his decision. About 15 years ago, my village was attacked by a creature known as the Kyubi no Yoko. The only way to stop it was to seal it away. But they couldn't seal it in just anything. They had to seal it in a newborn baby who just happened to have been born that very same day. He explained. It didn't take long for Yura to connect the dots. I was the baby that sealed the fox into. That day sealed my fate. I don't know who my parents were. I was told my father died defending the village while my mother died a few hours after childbirth. In order to try and give me a normal childhood, the Hokage, the village leader, passed a law saying it was forbidden to talk about the fox sealed into me. It didn't really work though, Naruto said with a bitter smile as he remembered his lonely childhood. What happened? Yura asked. The people couldn't tell the difference between the sword that killed their loved ones and the sheath that contained the weapon. Whenever somebody looked at me, they only say the demon that caused them so much pain. If it wasn't for the Hokage, I probably would have been killed a long time ago. But that didn't stop them from making my life miserable. They glared at me whenever they saw me, they overcharged me for basic necessities, they sabotaged my education, held the moment I was able to walk in for coherent sentences, I was kicked out of the orphanage. I lived on the streets until the Hokage found me and gave me an apartment. Naruto explained. Yura couldn't believe what she heard. During her time in the human world, she and her sister didn't make any friend, but at least they had each other. Naruto had no one. He had to face the hatred of an entire village by himself, except the occasional help from an old man. How he was able to stay sane, she had no idea. What about the kids your age? Yura asked. Naruto shook his head before answering. Their parents' hatred spread to them. They didn't know the real reason why I was treated the way I was, but that didn't stop them from following their parents' footsteps. They mocked me without ever bothering to know me. He explained as the two of them fell into silence. You said you were born human, but you are clearly a Hanyu now. How exactly did that happen? Yura asked. It happened about 2 years ago. I was on a mission to retrieve another shinobi who defected from our village. Long story short, it was a complete failure. The thing was, I was the only one who received any punishment. The village council decided to suspend me for an entire year because they thought the Kyubi's chakra was unstable and taking over me. Hearing this killed me. Being a shinobi was everything to me. I couldn't take it anymore, so I quit being a shinobi right then and there. Right before that meeting, Kurama, the Kyubi, talked to me saying that the villagers would never see me the way I want them to. He told me that no matter how hard I try, they will always see me as the demon. I realized he was right, so why stop fighting? I to train using his Yuki, and in time it started to change me. Eventually I became a Hanyu. Naruto answered. I see. Was the only thing Yura could say. I mean, what else was there? She never expected Naruto's past to be like that. Yeah. Then I got a letter inviting me to attend Yokai Academy. I decided to see what it was like outside my village, and the next thing I know, I find myself at a school for yokai. Naruto finished. Again the two were silent until Naruto turned to Yura with a smile. But despite everything that happened, I don't think I would change anything if I had the chance. Naruto said, surprising the girl. Really? Why is that? Yura asked, surprised. Because if I never quit being a shinobi, I probably would have refused the invitation and never would have attended Yokai Academy. If that happened, chances are I never would have met you and the others. Despite all the pain I've been through, it was totally worth it because I got to meet you guys. Naruto said, his eyes telling her he meant every word he said. Naruto closed his eyes with a peaceful expression on his face. He never really talked to anyone about this, and it felt pretty good, like a weight was lifted off of him. Everyone who knew of his situation knew beforehand. He never outright told anyone, He never got the chance to get it all off his chest. His eyes snapped open when he felt a pair of arms wrap around him. He slightly looked down to see a mop of silver hair. Blinking in confusion, his eyes widened when he realized Yura was hugging him. While he hugged Yura often, Yura never instigated it. She didn't know what came over her. All she knew was that her friend shared something very personal to her, and that he must have brought back a few unwanted feelings as he told her about his past. She remembered when she was younger that her mother used to hug her whenever she was upset. Using that as an example, she went with the flow and embraced her blonde friend, although she did it with a light blush. It wasn't long before she felt his arms wrap around her. "Not that I'm complaining, but any reason why you're hugging me out of the blue?" Naruto asked. "Do you remember when you said I was your best friend?" Yura asked, ignoring his question. Naruto frowned in confusion, wondering why she was asking a question like that. "Yeah, why?" he asked, confused. "Did you mean it?" she questioned. Naruto was wondering where she was going with this but answered. "I meant every word. You are my best friend, Yura-chan," Naruto said softly, hugging her a bit tighter. Yura looked up and Naruto felt his face heat up a bit when he saw her smiling softly at him. It was a small smile, but it was still enough to make his breath hitch. "While I'm upset with how people treated you in the past, I am glad I was able to meet you. I'll admit you did annoy me quite a bit when we first met, but as time went by I found myself growing comfortable with your presence. I can honestly say you are also my best friend. I do not know how it happened, but it did," Yura explained, resting her head on his chest. She knew she was acting a bit out of character, but right now she did not care. Smiling at her news, Naruto rested his chin on her head as the two of them fell into a comfortable silence.